What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be looking at another YouTube video from the Japanese YouTube channel where they're going to be portraying and displaying some of the new cards from our Temporal Fate set. Today we're going to be looking at Gouging Fire up against Iron Boulder EX, a ancient Pokemon that's a fire type, up against a future Pokemon. We're going to look at both these cards, see what they do, jump into the gameplay, and there will be two deck lists at the end of the video. Preliminary over from Japan. Keep in mind these are early deck lists, and the video might be a little bit scripted. But this is for entertainment purposes for us to watch together and kind of see how these cards interact and what an idea of like the power level of these certain cards could be, like what these cards should be doing. And if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton. I enjoy doing these quite a bit, especially because it gives me a look into these new cards without having to start building decks off the rip. Later down the format, I will be looking at comprehensive deck list videos from Japan to give you guys a better understanding of the Temporal Fate set, what rotation will do to the format, and it'll help you guys prepare for the future sets as we move forward. So Gouging Fire EX is a fire type ancient paradox Pokemon with 230 HP, 2 retreat, water weakness. Its 2 attacks are Heat Blast for a fire and a colorless. Nothing crazy to write home about. And then fire, colorless. 260, and you can't use Explosion Fire until you leave the active spot next turn. So basically we're just getting a better Dragonite V for decks like Lost Box, or if you're playing something like Iron Valiant Entei, this can become Iron Valiant Gouging Fire, for example, or you can play this in just a deck that can accelerate fires with either, I think, Mela, the supporter, or you can use Magma Basin to full effect to just make sure Gouging Fire does a ton of damage. And then next up we have Iron Boulder. It's a future Paradox Pokemon, 240 HP, fighting type with 2 attacks as well, grass weakness and 3 retreat. Its first attack is fighting colorless, 60 damage, repulsor axe. During your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, even if it's knocked out, put H damage counters on the active Pokemon. So basically rope is gone out of the format, escape rope, so things have to actually attack into the active unless you have a counter catcher or boss's orders, and you can't really do that every single turn. So Iron Boulder can control the game in a way where you have to attack into the Pokemon after it uses Repulsor Axe. However, 60 damage and then adding 80 might not necessarily be enough to clean up the game. And its secondary attack, fighting colorless, power stomp, 200, discard 2 energy, is pretty reasonable. But yeah, I don't think it does a ton of damage. But one thing you have to keep in mind, being a future Pokemon from Iron Boulder, is that Repulsor Axe, its 60 damage can be buffed up by Iron Crowns, so you can get up to 140 damage with Repulsor Axe, and then 8 damage counters on the Crackback, makes it so that you do enough to potentially knock out a Pokemon. With the tool, you go to 160. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the YouTube video where we see both of these decks being shown off, and we're going to see which side wins. Usually the new cards always win in these display videos, so I'm excited to see how these players kind of build the decks together. We're going to see, the comfy build of Gouging Fire is exactly what I expected on the left. Poffins makes complete sense in the deck like this. Ditto is a card that is basically circumnavigating the Battle VIP Pass problem on turn 1, so you can go get something like a Gouging Fire right off the rip. We're going to see a Switch Cart. We're going to see Ditto in the active, using Splup, getting a 4th Comfy into play. We see all 4 Comfies in our first 10 cards, pretty funny. Attach to Fire, Retreat. We're going to just use 3 Flower Selectings, it looks like. Losing a Town Store, losing a... I guess, why would we need Town Store? I guess Ancient Capsule seems pretty good. Iron Crown and an Arven off the bat. Techno Radar seems absolutely broken in every future deck. I think Techno Radar is going to become a staple. We see Grant, definitely an idea here. Grant is boosts our fighting type Pokemon's damage, and it's just kind of insane maybe in a deck like this where we can set up that Crackback like I was talking about earlier. Miraidon can power up the Iron Boulder. You can go into it like Future Box has so many options that you can do, and now with 2 Iron Crowns we're actually just one-shotting a Comfy off the back with Arven. Like Arven seems like an absolutely insane supporter for a deck like this. Miraidon giving the archetype a lot of versatility, and now we see a Colossus Experiment. An Iron Boulder off the Crackback, or an Iron Boulder, Gouging Fire off the Crackback wouldn't actually do too much because it is a big guy that we're investing a lot of resources into. But going into like a Cramorant here, we see the Switchboard. Probably a really cool card for Comfy decks across the board, but no, Rope does hurt quite a bit. 110 into the Miraidon, taking it out, and an equal trade. And then we're going to see the Iron Boulder come up. Another mill resource, get the board set up. 2 more boulders. I think completely reasonable pulls here. We already get the knockout, I believe, with our attack, so we don't really need to commit any more resources to getting another Iron Crown into play. Oh, Gutsy Pickaxe. Check the top card of our deck. If it's not a fighting energy, put it into your hand. If it is a fighting energy, attach to one of your Pokemon. So we can accelerate here onto the board. A Mew EX as well. That's an interesting card. We're going to go ahead and see the Repulsor Axe knocking out the Cramorant. And now, if anything damages our Iron Boulder, it takes 8 damage counters on the Crackback. So even if we go into Gouging Fire, that's not necessarily the best play of action. Wow, they thinned properly and got the Devo tool out. I'm so impressed. We're gonna go ahead and get another Colorless Experiment going. No need for Poffins anymore. We've already see all of our Comfies basically in play. We're gonna get to 10 here. Where's our Gouging Fire? What are we doing? There's Gouging Fire. I spoke way too soon. Lost Box player has like 10 cards in hand. I'm like, we haven't seen it just yet. Mirage Gate coming through. What secondary energy type are we playing in this deck? A Psychic Energy, that makes complete sense. We can go into Sableye. A Switch for the turn. Radiant Charizard hitting the board. Definitely a card that we can play. Given our fire typing, they can off-trade pretty effectively into a lot of the cards in the meta. Iron Leaves, Goldengo, some of these 2-prize attackers that might be more popular. Future Box going into their 2 prizes as well, like Iron Hands. You can go ahead and Mirage Gate to the Radiant Charizard pretty early on in the game. Get it powered up, attack as soon as possible. Decks like Charizard might not necessarily be the greatest matchup for this deck because we don't actually hit numbers into Charizard. We don't actually hit numbers specifically in that matchup, I think. But I think into things like Goldengo, into things like Stall, Iron Boulder, Future Box, Miraidon, Radiant Zard is still very, very much so one of the best cards in the format, and you don't have Path to the Peak to worry about anymore. 80 damage on the Crackback. Now our Gouging Fire is at 170 HP remaining. Wait, that's not right. 230 minus 80 is 150. Never mind, 150. Guys, basic math is difficult. We're going to see another attachment here. Heavy Ball coming through. No Crown. Right now with Repulsor Axe, we're doing 140. We see a Grant plus 30 damage. Okay. Wait, why did we spread out the energies? Oh, we're doing the future arm of Justice. And we're going to draw 3 cards with Mew. Go to 0. Repulsor Axe now does 150, which is a perfect knockout onto Gouging Fire. That's cool. I like this Grant quite a bit in this. Like the Grant tech in this deck quite a bit. I think I gave Iron Boulder not enough credit. We're good on the 2 prizes. This is where Radzard comes into play, though. We don't even have to put down a Gouging Fire. There's a Roxanne, I think, in the hand, attached from hand. Countercatcher up the other one, so we dodge the Repulsor Axe damage. I think it's... Okay, I think it's like kind of irrelevant. But I do think that we're taking this prize, making it so... like, Countercatcher is irrelevant for the rest of the game. So I guess we have to use it on this turn because it becomes a dead card for the rest of the game. But I don't think it like necessarily mattered what we did there with the Countercatcher. Like I think hitting the active was completely fine because if our opponent doesn't knock out the Radiant Charizard, then they're in trouble anyway. But I guess Repulsor Axe is only doing 120 in this situation, so we can force them to find either 2 more crowns or something else. Every single deck, it looks like it's playing Devo right now, which makes sense to me because Charizard is such a big problem. So if you can, okay, they're actually shuffling each other's hands. That's funny. Forest Sealstone. Wait, what? So they're playing some sort of V Pokemon in this deck. What could it possibly be? Guess in the chat right now, guys, before they reveal it in the Decklist profile. What V could they be playing in here that makes any semblance of sense? I'm just going to guess it's Luminion. I think it's just Luminion. Basic answer, I understand, but I think it's Luminion. We're going to go ahead and see the second attack here, discarding 2 fighting energies, taking a knockout with 260. Radzard has gone. We're Iono to 1. Can the Lost Box player... Canonically, Lost Box players cannot come back from an Iono to 1. Like, it's very, very difficult. Like, this has got to be like a Roxanne in hand, or a Chorus specifically, to go into the Gouging Fire. We're going to see Town Store pulling out another board. We get to thin a card. Colorless Experiment, okay, we're insane. If we get Gouging Fire Gate Energy, we win. Boss and Vacuum gone. We see Comfy. Rod back. Okay, I guess Radzard Energy also wins game here. Switch cart. Okay, we'll go again. No gate. We're getting rid of the gate, I guess, which means We have a gate in hand. We're just looking for a Pokemon. Oh man, I'm getting nervous. Nest Ball, there it is. Radzard. Wait, okay, I guess Gouging Fire also works. Gate. Gate. Prime Catcher. Oh my god, I guess Prime Catcher for game. It's the first of many we're going to see in the new format. You guys got to get used to Prime Catcher for game. Um, Blowing up the Mew on the bench, ending the game. Radzard also does the exact same thing in that situation, so we didn't need like all those gates to be as flashy as we did. But I think Radzard actually like severely swings the matchup. We can see this list here, pretty consistent across the board. 4 Colors, 2 gear, basically playing it like old school Sablezard. Less counter catches than I expected. I feel like more counter catches would be better, just because you can trade probably better across the board with Grams and Sableye early. Only one vacuum is a little bit interesting too. This is a lot of fires. I don't know if we need this many fires. Yeah, there's a lot of fires. I just feel like we probably could play a little bit less. Only I guess 9 switch cards total with the escape board, and Prime Catcher makes it 10, but I don't think we want to use Prime Catcher as a switching card necessarily. I feel like it should be used as like what we just saw, an end game tool to close out the game. So an interesting list across the board. Can't really complain about this one. Let's look at the future box list. I'm interested in this one. Okay, so it was just Lumineon V. If you guys got that answer right, it was just that. This list looks a lot more consistent, just straightforward. We see the Grant. We see 4 Technoradar like I expected. 3 Boulder, 3 Crown. Interesting that there's no 4 Crown. I feel like being able to hit 160 sets up for pretty good crackbacks on the opposing side, because the hit back for 80, a lot of the basic EXs and Vs in the format have no more than 240 HP. So being able to knock out those guys who have the 230, like Iron Hands, Gouging Fire in this instance on the crackback seems pretty good. So I think having 4 Crown on the off chance that your board can be 4 Crown Miraidon Boulder seems pretty good. I guess Grant can offset that a little bit, but we're only playing 1 Grant, and I don't really feel like we should be illuminating for it all the time. We don't really need like anything else on our board besides Boulders, an early Miraidon, and the Crown. And I think playing Bundle makes sense in a lot of these decks because Bundle acts as the rope. And so like Future Box Mirror could get weird when you're getting roped. I do like 4 tools as well in this deck. I think everything in this deck has insanely high retreat cost, so you do want to move stuff pretty efficiently. If you don't, like, could be kind of a problem. I think 12 Fighting Energy makes a ton of sense with Pickaxe. I don't know. This is a cool deck. I like Iron Boulder quite a bit more than I thought I would. I thought Iron Boulder was going to be the worst by far, but I think Future Box as a whole is like really, really, really powerful. Like I can't iterate like how strong I think Future Box is going to be moving forward. Maybe it's going to take a couple more cards. Maybe it's going to take a little bit of time to like set in, but I think this is my favorite archetype of the new cards because how versatile the Miraidon plus Iron Crown shell is, where you just play those 2 guys and then you can basically tech and play whatever other cards you want to play. Very excited for the state of the new format. Very excited for the state of the game. EUIC should be a ton of fun. You guys can check out these lists here. Hope you guys enjoyed this content. Original video is in the comments below if you want to support that channel. And if you want to support me, please like and subscribe. And I'll be back with some more banging content soon. See you guys. Have a good one.